Good morning. I've got 7 stories for you today. A lot happened last week, so hang on. First one, Mitsubishi won an order for nearly 3,300 megawatts of hydrogen-compatible gas turbines to support 3 planned natural gas projects in New York, Ohio, and Virginia. The order also included equipment for generation and storage of hydrogen produced from renewables. Like LADWP's planned Intermountain project, the projects will be able to start with a 30% H2 mix, 70% CH4 methane, and intended to come online in 2022 and 2023, eventually transitioning to 100% hydrogen. The goal is to utilize excess renewable energy and electrolyzers to create and store hydrogen on site. It's an interesting strategy that will help to future-proof gas generation plants that might otherwise become stranded assets in a future carbon-constrained world. The next story out of California, NextEra Energy Resources announced it will deploy 700 megawatts of contracted battery energy storage resources at 6 existing grid-scale solar energy power plants in California, all of that within the next 2 years. This can't happen soon enough given the outages that were experienced just 2 weeks ago and the need for more resource adequacy in the state. NextEra also announced they might have an additional 2,000 megawatts in the pipeline. There's a new battery technology that's finally joining the lithium-ion dominated storage party. EOS Energy Storage announced it has secured orders for over 1.5 gigawatt hours of long-duration storage projects. They didn't announce the capacity part of it, just the energy piece. It will supply 1 gigawatt hour of standalone battery projects to ERCOT in Texas, to International Electric Power, and that starts in Q3 of 2021, and then it'll provide 500 megawatts of battery storage to Hybrid Energy Storage, Carson Hybrid Energy Storage in California. In the latter case, it seems the facilities will be used to support renewable projects, probably mostly solar. Also, today, September 8th, EOS announced on their website they're going public and will be listed shortly on the NASDAQ. Out of Europe, it was announced that in July, they sold 18% of passenger vehicles sold in the month, 230,700, had a plug in them, and they captured 8.5% market share. For comparison, U.S. has been about 1.5% electric vehicles through June, with 86% of those total sales going to one company. If you can't guess who that company is, I'm not telling. Also in EV news, many of you know that the EV, the Porsche Taycan, can charge really quickly. It has an 800 volt liquid-cooled charging architecture from 5 to 80% of your total battery capacity in about 20 minutes. GM says its upcoming Hummer will use a similar architecture, and now Kia is saying, me too. When a mainstream manufacturer like Kia makes that kind of a claim, it's worth paying attention to. Seems like this whole charger thing is picking up speed. Did I just say that? Here's another concept worth floating. Total and Macquarie's Green Investment Group have announced they signed a 50-50 partnership to develop a large fleet of floating offshore wind projects in South Korea with a potential capacity of over 2 gigawatts. The first 500 megawatt project is expected to go in by the end of 2023. South Korea has a total of 12 gigs of offshore wind, so a large part of that will probably be floating wind. The industry is now working on standardizing some of its designs, and these things are going to be big, and this whole industry is going to take off and surprise a lot of observers. And then finally, out of Sweden, fossil-free steel just got a major step closer, with Swedish steel company SSA, state utility Vattenfall, and mining company LKAB announcing they'd started test operations on a pilot plant utilizing clean electricity and hydrogen in lieu of coking coal. The plant will make fossil-free sponge iron, which is a precursor to the steel industry. This could be a big deal for Nordic emissions overall. SSAB alone contributes to 10% of Sweden's total emissions and 7% of Finland's. The company is now shooting for its first fossil-free steel to be commercially available within the next 6 years and to become totally fossil-free by 2045. So those are just a handful of stories from last week. Things keep moving fast in the space. There's a lot to look forward to, a lot of change to come. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.